In what he billed as a fireside chat to the people of his state, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, a Republican, explained that his effort to balance his state's budget by, among other things, limiting collective bargaining was not an assault on unions.
And it certainly isn't a battle with unions. If it was, we would have eliminated collective bargaining entirely, or we would have gone after the private sector unions.
But that statement rings hollow to Brian Kennedy, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, Wisconsin.
For private sector unions, they were constantly under attack. They have been since the 80s, even when times were good in the mid-80s and again through the 90s.
Kennedy is one of the tens of thousands of people who have flooded Wisconsin's state capital, Madison, in recent days to protest Governor Walker's $137 million budget repair bill. With the state also facing a $3.6 billion budget deficit during the next 2 years, he says he understands why there is an expectation for public sector employees to make sacrifices.
In the public sector, I can see right now with the economy bad why people might, expect that unions would make concessions at the table, but to attack unions and try and destroy unions doesn't make any sense at all.
He needs to add 62,500 jobs per year.
University of Wisconsin political science professor Charles Franklin says the motivation to curb the influence of unions in Wisconsin has more to do with politics than economics.
Of course, unions back Democrats, the governor's a Republican. There's an underlying element of the politics of this as well. You weaken the unions, you weaken the Democratic Party, and you strengthen the Republicans in future elections.
Franklin says the battle over state budgets is also a struggle of relevance for labor unions. That effort is now playing out in several states across the country, including New Jersey, where Republican Governor Chris Christie is making the case that balancing the budget by limiting the power of labor unions is a nonpartisan issue.
These ideas are not red or blue. They are the black and white of truth. So today, states as diverse as California and Wisconsin, Ohio and Florida, New York and New Mexico are following the New Jersey model, which we fought for last year. Democratic governors and Republican governors now look to New Jersey.
Stop the bill!
As the discussion over how to balance state budgets turns into a national issue, University of Wisconsin history professor Jeremy Surrey says it may be having the opposite effect on unions that Republican governors had hoped for.
Certainly what's happened in the last few weeks is the union movement has been recharged, galvanized, and mobilized in ways it wasn't before. So that has strengthened the union movement. But if in spite of all of that mobilization, the unions don't come out with any compromise from the governor, if in fact through his provisions to eliminate collective bargaining, unions are so disempowered, they will appear not only to have sacrificed a lot here, but they'll be a lot weaker, of course.
The protests in Wisconsin are in their second week. With no end in sight, Governor Scott Walker is proposing to do the very thing his budget repair bill would have avoided, laying off state workers. Kane Faribault, VOA News, Madison, Wisconsin.